Hey everybody, it's good to be seen by you again, and I hope all of you are doing well, enjoying your walks, taking care of yourselves and taking care of your loved ones, your friends and family. I've obviously changed my look just a little bit. I've done this for, I guess, a couple reasons. Number one is, in case you think my lessons are boring, well, now they're a little less boring. Number two, today I'm going to introduce my topic with some statistics, which some people also find boring. So to prevent number one from happening again, here we go. And number three, I just don't really care anymore, to be honest. And so here we are, and this is what you get. And so today's topic, I think, is important. We've probably talked about it a little bit before. But we're going to be talking about health, or I guess I'm going to be talking and you're going to be listening. But today we're going to talk about health, some different aspects of health like nutrition, fitness, etc., and maybe also some habits that we can live healthier. And I think a good way to start talking about this is life expectancy. Before I get too far, there is a PowerPoint that's attached hopefully to this video, and obviously 10 questions. Like before, same format. So pay attention. Again, we'll start with world life expectancy. What this means is how long people live, and we can measure this. And so if you look at the average life expectancy for the entire world, that's 73.2 years, right? So on average, humans live 73.2 years. And what's kind of interesting is that women actually live longer. So females have a life expectancy of 75.6 years, while men only live 70.8 years. That's just how it is. If you look at slide number 1, it has a map of how this is kind of displayed across the world of different countries or different areas that maybe live longer than others. And so if you actually look at the numbers, Hong Kong is number 1. They rank number 1 in the world with a life expectancy of 85.29. Spain is always ranked really, really high. And according to this information that I looked up, Spain is number 7 in the world. So they rank number 7 with an average life expectancy of 83.99 years. USA is number 46. So we're not doing too great, but it's just how it is, I guess. And if you look at slide number 2, you can see how this information, this data has changed and actually improved over the last 70 years. So the graph shows from 1950 until, I guess, today, if I remember correctly, how this life expectancy has increased, and also between men and women as well. Another interesting thing, and this has been studied a little bit, but nothing official has ever really been published. But apparently right-handers live longer than left-handers. So I'm left-handed, and one study showed that we live up to 9 years less than right-handed people. Again, nothing conclusive about that, but that's at least what has been studied before. So unfortunately for us left-handed people, we don't live as long, but it's also been studied that we're smarter, which, I mean, obvious, right? And so next thing that I think is important, after talking about life expectancy, is talking about quantity versus quality. I think that's always a good kind of discussion to have in lots of things, but especially for life. So simply living longer doesn't necessarily mean that's attractive or something we want. For me personally, I would rather live shorter but be healthier for those years. And so when we talk about the quality, I think that gets more into health, which also affects quantity. So we'll get into that a little bit more right now. Obviously, my country has a stereotype of not necessarily being healthy. And if you look at some statistics from 2015, it shows that adults in the United States, 39.8% of all adults in the United States are obese. It's a big number, 39.8%. On top of that, you have 31.8% that are overweight. Not quite obese, but more than what they should be, right? And one of the saddest trends, I guess, is that we don't necessarily see a lot of hope in this improving, because children between the ages of 12 and 19 have an obesity, percentage of 20.6%. So that's 1 out of every 5 children your age, right, between 12 and 19 in the United States that are obese. Obviously, we need to fix that for the health of these people, but also for the health of my country, I guess, or any country. So when you look at the consequences, obviously, we get sicker easily when we're not healthy, and that has a medical cost. In the United States, this cost is $147 billion just for people not really being in shape. And one thing that I think is important to talk about for obesity is how we calculate it. Like, what does it mean? And most people use the BMI calculator. This is going to be the body mass index, and this is based on 2 factors. This is going to be your height and also your weight, right? And I think it's also very important to know that, especially for you as young people, but for all of us, that our health isn't just a number, right? So if you step on a scale or if you look a certain way, that doesn't necessarily tell us if you're healthy or not. And I think that's really important for you to know. So I actually did this BMI calculator, putting in, again, my height and my weight, and it showed that I'm overweight. Maybe, but I try to go to the gym. I see some of y'all there. It also doesn't help that I've been eating a lot of chocolate. So, I did put on about 5 kilos so far this quarantine. But I don't know that I would necessarily call myself overweight. But according to the BMI calculator, I am. So we have to be careful with some of those things as well. Now, Harvard, you may have heard of this university. It's in the United States. It's one of the most, prestigious universities in the world. They have 5 steps to a healthy life. Number 1 is a healthy diet, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Healthy physical activity level. Number 2 is Number 3, maintaining a healthy body weight. So this is based on the BMI, the body mass index, between 18.5 and 24.9. Also moderate alcohol intake. And the 5th one is, it's really important to me, but this is one thing that they say that we should not do. Just don't do it. No excuses. Just don't do it. Is don't smoke. I think smoking obviously has lots of consequences to it. I've personally never smoked in my life. My grandmother smoked, and she had cancer in her throat, and they had to remove part of her throat. Sorry if that's a little graphic, but I think it's worth telling you this. And so she never could talk ever. So if she wanted to talk, she had to write it down. So if any of you are smoking, just remember that. Never being able to talk and having to write down every single word. Honestly, as a kid, that scared me half to death. And so I'll never smoke anything in my entire life. Moving on. Okay, so the first one that they mentioned was a healthy diet. And you can kind of see this on slide number 3. When I was a kid, we had the food pyramid. This is how we determined what a healthy diet was. It looks like we've switched to something called the healthy eating plate. And so you can see that in this diagram here that we've got fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and healthy proteins. When we talk about fruits, they talk about trying to mix different colors, right? That's good, apparently. Vegetables, they did put a specific note here saying that French fries don't count. It's unfortunate. One thing that's here in Spain you do really well when you talk about these oils is that you use olive oil for everything. While in the United States we like to use butter, which is terrible for us. So that might be one reason that here in Spain you live longer than we do. And you've got whole grains, you've got healthy proteins, which I've kind of started trying to mix into my diet too, right? So they say eating less red meat. I will say this as a little bit of a joke, but also a little bit serious. Harvard people are supposed to be very intelligent, but if you look at what they've written here, they have the exact words saying, avoid bacon. Who in their right mind would ever say that? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Avoid bacon, those 2 words should never, ever go together. I can agree with limiting bacon, but avoiding it, not for me. Again, this is what their recommendation is. And then you can see the last thing is water, right? So drink water. I think the recommendation is for us to drink about 2 to 3 liters per day. Another thing mentioned by Harvard, by this Harvard study, was physical activity. You can see this also on slide 4. And so they recommend 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. Now, that may sound like a lot, but really this is only 30 minutes for 5 days a week. And we can do this by walking, dancing, gardening, hiking, swimming, biking, etc. Lots and lots of options. So try to stay active, go for walks. It's good for your body, right? Another thing that I think has just kind of started to be talked about in the last couple of years, and I think it's super important, is mental health. And I think this plays a huge role in our overall health. And so, number one, I think it's good that people now talk openly about therapy and that they go see psychologists and get help in expressing their feelings and their thoughts, because I think that's really good. My sister's a therapist. I have lots of friends who are therapists, and even those people go see therapists because they see the value in it. So I think that's good. But I've got a couple tips here to help maintain our mental health. Number one is connect with people. I feel like I've kind of learned this during the quarantine, is that we weren't, in my opinion, we aren't made to be solo. We're not meant to live alone. We're meant to be in community with people, and so connect with others, have interaction with other people. Number two is be physically active. We've talked about that. It's not just good for your body, it's good for your mind. Releases like endorphins, makes you feel good. Learning new skills is something also that's good. Giving to others, volunteering is good. Also, this is a word that you've probably heard a lot recently, mindfulness. Honestly, I didn't know what this meant, but what this means is that we're supposed to pay attention to the present moment. Live in the present. That's mindfulness, and I think that's good. Also, telling yourself something positive is good advice. Writing something you're grateful for, you're thankful for. Watching what we eat and sleeping well. Between 7 and 8 hours per day, I think, is really good. All of these things help us with our mental health, and I would agree with this, and so I think we should practice these things. I watched a TED Talk about this too to kind of prepare for this lesson, and this woman, in summary, was talking about for our mental health, we need to make sure we're monitoring our thoughts of how we view ourselves, how we view others, and how we view the world around us. And I started thinking about myself, my own personal thoughts that I have, and these are what I think about, how I view myself, how I view others, and how I view the world. And I think we should monitor these things. So when I think about myself, we call this self-talk, how we talk to ourselves. Honestly, I'm terrible at this. I call myself stupid 30 times a day. I just say it in my head or mutter it to myself. It's like, Corey, you're stupid, if I do something that wasn't very smart. But I think we need to monitor those things. How we view others and how we compare ourselves to others too, I think, is important. And how we view the world. If we have a negative view of the world of, oh, bad things always happen to me, just me, and kind of feel pity for ourselves, feel sad for ourselves, I don't think that's good. The world isn't out to get us. We should monitor how we view these 3 types of thoughts. How we view ourselves, view our others, and view the world around us. And I've included one more thing here, and I may have shown this video to you on slide 5. I tried to include a video, but I am stupid. So I know I just talked about self-talk, but I've got to learn some things. I tried to include a video in the PowerPoint, but I couldn't get it to work. So if you're interested in watching this video, I think it's good. I would recommend it. It's not on a test. It's not important for our lesson, but if you want to watch this because you're bored or you want to, just type in YouTube Matthew McConaughey winning Best Actor. So Matthew McConaughey, he's a Texas boy, yeehaw, and he talks really well. He talks like a country boy, and I don't know, he's got some nice life lessons. So you can go ahead, if you watch that, skip to like 1:30. Don't watch the first minute and a half. Don't worry about it. But I think he's got a good take on how he views life and kind of how he sees progressing into life and becoming a better person individually. Okay, that's the end of my lesson. I'm going to go ahead and read you the questions that I have here in case they don't get attached or you like listening to my voice or whatever. So let me get to question 1 right here. What is the world's average life expectancy? For all people in the world, what is the world's life expectancy? Number 2, What is Spain's world ranking for life expectancy? Where do they rank? Number 1, number whatever, okay? Number 3, between left-handed people and right-handed people, who has the shorter life expectancy? Who has the shorter life expectancy? Question number 4, what percentage of adults in the U.S. are obese? Okay, a percentage of adults in the U.S. are obese. The BMI, the body mass index, is calculated using what 2 measurements? That is question number 5. Number 6, Harvard has 5 steps to a healthy life. They are very clear that we should not do one thing. What is that one thing that we should not do? Question number 6. For number 7, how many minutes of moderate physical activity should we get each week? Number 8, paying attention to the present moment is known as, so again, the blank here is defined as paying attention to the present moment. Okay, for questions number 9 and 10, I just want like a 30 to 50 word response. Should be pretty easy. Question number 9, if you could only choose one, what would you say is the most important thing required to living a healthy life? Explain. Okay, so you can only choose one thing. What's most important? What impacts whether our life is healthy or not? Okay, the most. Question number 10. What is one way you want to improve your health this year? So justify or explain your choice. So just choose one way you want to improve your health this year. That's it. I hope today was good. I hope that you're doing okay. And I hope to see some of you again soon. Well, I hope to see all of you again soon. But take care, and I'll at least see you next week. Bye.